What happens when you get all organized way ahead of time. Okay, so again, welcome everybody to the digital forum, just so YouTube gets it right. I think I'll start with the first question. Kathy, are you here yet? Are you? I think I brought you in, right?
Kathy Brand, yeah. Yeah. She's just hiding herself. There she is.
Oh, she's just hiding. She sent me an email with something that
yes.
Nobody should do.
Yes, well, I did
it. But you did it. She got a pop-up thing on her screen that said some oddball code will damage your computer. You should move it to the trash. And then there's a nice button on there that says move to trash. Mm-hmm. And then another check mark that says report malware to Apple to protect others.
That made me think it was legitimate.
Yeah, yeah. And here, maybe I'll share my screen and just show you what it looks like, just so everybody can see it. So you can see she gave me a screenshot of it. So the big no-no is to touch any of these buttons.
Yeah, I found that out.
So now we have to figure out how to get rid of it for her. And I've played around a little bit, and Marty, you might be able to help with it too, but
are we talking about the Mac environment here? Or are we talking?
Yeah, this is the Mac environment, although you can get the same stuff on a Windows machine just as easy. But this was on a Mac computer. And generally, it's just considered malware. I believe it's probably connected to your browser, the Safari browser. That's the browser you use, right, Kathy?
Right.
So the first thing you should end up doing is going into the Safari browser and into the preference settings, and make sure you have block all pop-ups. That may make it go away. Then you can also, maybe I can, let me see if I can try to show this. Let me drag it over. So if you go into preferences, I believe it's, I always have to search for it.
Yeah, I think it's under privacy now, Jeff.
Yeah, that's the trouble. They keep moving it around.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Well, I think that I think they've changed some of their terminology as far as pop-ups, like the website tracking, for instance.
Yeah, I think that's where it is.
Under Reader? No, wait.
Under Safari.
Under
yeah,
Safari.
Go under Safari, and then there's a preference that you can click here. And here's where content blockers is probably the one that you could click on to see if that actually shows up in this window here.
Okay.
And see if that shows up. If it does, I think there's a way to turn it off. And here, down here at the very bottom is pop-up windows.
Yeah, I didn't know these two things existed.
Yeah. And I've got everything so that it blocks it and notifies me when a pop-up is going to appear. And so you can block those from popping up, period, just by making sure that you keep block and notify in place. The other thing that they suggested was in extensions, check there to see if there's a oddball extension in there.
Eyeball. Okay.
Because like I have an extension for Grammarly, which is my writing program to help me write when I fill in boxes in websites. But if there's something odd in this side that you didn't really install, which when you click that button, it could have added an extension into Safari, you want to get rid of that. And I believe if you click on it and uncheck the box,
Okay.
you just would uncheck that box and that would turn it off.
And Jeff, go under security to,
Yeah.
and make sure that the fraudulent sites is, well, both of those are checked, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
both of these need to be checked.
yeah, and they should by default, I think they are, but
Yeah. So if you do all that and then shut Safari off and start it back up again, that might get rid of it.
Okay.
and I
Now-
would say, Kathy, since that's pretty much brand new, that computer is brand new to you.
Yeah.
Did you have Apple Care? I wouldn't be
Yeah,
afraid
that-
to contact Apple and say, hey,
Yeah, I was gonna do that. That was my next step, was to contact them.
Yeah. The other thing that I found that's worked to get rid of it, I do this last, but you could clear your history, which gets
Oh,
rid of all the
okay.
history of your browsing, and that can get rid of it too, because generally that pop-up is connected to Safari, and so if you clear the history and restart Safari, it should go away and not come back
Okay.
after
I'll
you do
try
all
all
those
that.
settings.
You know what I did meanwhile, I just I moved it to the lower right corner so it hardly appears. So at least
Right.
it wasn't in the middle of my screen, because that's where it was originally.
Yeah, but it's probably opened a tab or something on your Safari, and if you try all that stuff, it should make it go away. Do not click any yellow button. Don't click like any of these buttons or any other button that's on that, because it could install something if you do that.
Jeff, I'll have you look at one more thing. If you do the drop down from Safari again,
Yeah.
and then look at the privacy report,
Oh, okay.
and that's part of Apple's, their blocking of all this stuff here. Show more, you can see all the different things that it's looking at,
Yeah.
and who's tracking you, and all that stuff. So you might be able to see if that particular link or whatever that's from pops up something weird there too.
Right.
And where did you get to this screen, or how did you get to this screen?
So just click on Safari, and then
Safari. And
Preferences?
No,
privacy
no.
report right below
Oh, privacy.
preferences.
Okay.
And you could see that I've got it. It's prevented 197 trackers from profiling me and 49 websites from Google. Google, of course, is the worst offender for tracking you.
They are. Google and Facebook is second. I
Yeah.
don't have Facebook on any of my devices yet. I've got 2 instances on my tracking that shows Facebook. So they have ways whether you have an account with them or not to track you. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, each browser has a specific ID, and that's how they track you. When you log into a website, of course, you open up a session, and the only way they know what session is whose, they have to have an ID for that, and your browser provides that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you
So-
for
I have a
all the
simpler
tips.
solution. I have a real simple solution for that.
Yeah.
You should have taken it over to Best Buy and traded in for a Windows machine.
Oh God, never go to Best Buy. I wouldn't
Well,
trust
and
Best
just-
Buy for anything that's concerned.
Kathy, have
Yeah.
you restarted your computer?
I did once, but it was still there.
It was still there. Okay.
But I never
'cause,
thought of all these other things that you just discussed about going into the Safari preferences. So
Yeah.
I will check all that stuff out. And
Yeah.
once in a while I use Firefox, and I don't recall if it was there or not, but I'll have to check. Usually I use
Okay.
Safari.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Double check that it wasn't Firefox that it popped up from. Safari has a better chance of blocking that stuff, but
Okay,
and Firefox would have, I think, a lot of
Same
the
type
same
of stuff,
stuff in
okay.
preferences. Blocking pop-ups. Anybody, whether it's Windows or Mac, needs to block those pop-ups most of the time.
yeah.
Kathy, do you use Google as your default search engine, or do you use DuckDuckGo or something?
I use
else?
DuckDuckGo.
Okay, I was gonna say that would help too.
Okay, so DuckDuckGo is better than other ones?
I think personally, I think so, but that's just
Okay,
my
Yeah, I gotta admit, I still use Google, so it shouldn't, but I do.
so
I
is
tried
DuckDuckGo,
DuckDuckGo. I got the feeling DuckDuckGo must have gotten better lately. When I first tried it, it was so far behind Google that I couldn't tolerate it.
I don't
when
know,
you
I don't
say it was
have
so
too
far
much-
behind, what do you mean by so far behind? It didn't find the,
It never could find anything for me
Oh,
when
I
I would
see.
search, and then I'd end up going to Google to do the search.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't seem like I have too much problem with it in that respect.
Yeah, well, that was
and I-
10
and I-
years ago, though. DuckDuckGo
Oh, yeah.
was not that great 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's
Not
it's
much
come a long
better,
ways. Yeah,
Not much better.
Yeah,
I use it both here at home, and I use it at work on the PC at work, and I think it works well on both of them.
okay. Great. Yeah, on Windows, I don't know. Jerry, do you know if there's anything, if that happens on a Windows machine?
Yeah, my damn phone here. I don't know what's going on, but it's in my ear. The Windows machine, there's several things you do. One, you can prop up a task and see if you can get rid of the Explorer. Just shut it down by ending a task. That's one thing you can do. History is another one. If they're a bummer, all
Yeah.
operating systems deal with it. And it's just a bummer. I just don't click on anything. I don't. If I get a pop up, I will not click on it. And we can
Right.
of course, we can block all pop ups just like we can with a Safari. So it's just it's an issue that you have to be aware of and deal with it properly when it happens.
Right. Actually, Kathy, you probably could find, we do have the same thing as your task manager. That I forget the name of it. That. Boy, my brain is not working today.
What are you trying to think about, Jeff?
The thing that shows all the different programs running.
Yeah. And the
oh, I
pop-up-
have
Oh,
seen that, yes.
Yeah, that's
Activity monitor.
Activity monitor. Yeah.
Yeah, you could check there and see if there's something strange like that running, and it might show you. You might be able to shut it down that way as well. But
I just
yeah,
still
if
hope I kill the whole process automatically. Just kill it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you do? You would
In the utility or activity manager, you should be able to, you can actually tell it to show you where it's at. And I believe you can even turn stuff off. Let me just.
I don't know about that, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got it up and I'm like right clicking and I don't get any response, and I don't see a way that you can end a task there. But I mean, you can end tasks by right clicking, like if you have an icon open.
Yeah.
You know.
You're right. Yeah, but it can show you usually where it's at and what, if it's running.
Yeah, and then Option Command Escape will let you kill tasks, but I don't know within Activity Monitor if you really can or not.
Yeah, I suppose you might be able to go into Force Quit and Force Quit the.
Actually, you can if you click on the little eye, the information. That does give you, unless it just tells you. Are you sure you want to quit this? Yeah. So if you click on an event, like right now, I got some Protect service thing. I don't know what the heck it is. It's not really doing anything right now, but if I hit that eye, and then it shows me a little bit more about that particular thing, and it says quit. If you quit that, it gives you the option to quit or force quit. So if you have something that's kind of locking yourself up, that could be one way to unlock a program.
Yeah. The hard part would be to find that program in the mess of programs that are running on Apple.
yeah, because there's, I don't know, I got a lot of things running right now.
Yeah, I think I must have close to 100 different processes running. So,
is there any way you can go to the App Store? Perhaps there's some kind of an application you can use that helps you manage that.
Not really. And
I mean, like Clean My Mac could do something like that, but you know, it could do a whole lot more. But I think that since it's just one isolated incident, trying to figure out exactly where it's at and getting rid of that before I would download another program would be a better option.
Yeah, you could run malware bytes that always can get rid of it.
Yeah.
I'll try all of this stuff that you
yeah. Otherwise, the simplest thing would be contact Apple if you've got Apple Care.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
They'll just take your computer over or they'll tell you probably a lot of the same things we just did, because I basically got most of that info from the Apple website when I checked to remind myself what you all had to do to get rid of it.
Okay.
But yeah, don't ever click on stuff.
Yeah, I learned.
And for the rest of the Apple users, I'll put in the chat our Apple user group here in Wisconsin. So if anybody's interested, if you are an Apple user and want to get involved with that, org there. So if you check the chat, I put a link to our website for the Central Wisconsin Apple user group, but we're pretty much the only active user group in Wisconsin anymore. So might be something you want to check out.
Yeah. I see Ken Cena suggested that startpage.com is now better than DuckDuckGo.
Startpage.com.
Yeah, he said this past week it was found out that DuckDuckGo distributed contact information to a bunch of different sites. So they're all doing it. So
that's why I won't donate. I don't donate to organizations now unless I can do it anonymously. They all sell your name. They all sell your name, and next thing you know, you're deluged with stuff. It's disgusting, actually.
Yeah, it's getting. Macs are pretty good, and I was checking, and when you do restart a Mac, it does go through a virus thing that it will clean your Mac up and make sure it gets rid of any viruses. So, because it does it actively in the background. Malware like that is just something that once it gets in, it's probably was on some website Kathy was on, and it sort of hightailed it in. You didn't download any programs, Kathy, from somewhere.
I don't think I did.
Okay.
But this is the first time this has ever happened to me. So, I mean, I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Did that come in an email or was it actually a pop-up?
It was actually a pop-up.
Okay.
So it came in through a website that you were on.
Yeah.
And the best thing to do when that pops up like that is just shut down Safari right away so that it wipes it out. The other thing that they did say is start Safari up by holding down the Shift key, and that will stop any websites from loading on that browser when you start it up, and it'll just start it up as a fresh browser.
Okay,
so you can
that's
try that as well, because what it is undoubtedly it loaded as off of a website, and it's probably hidden on the Safari browser and loading.
Well, I'm glad you're recording this meeting today because I'm going to be reviewing all of this.
Got all sorts of
A
things
lot
for
of
you to
information, and
try.
I don't know how much penetrated.
Yeah.
Well, that's what these people take advantage of.
Yes.
Yep.
Be an expert on everything.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess the first thing I would try would be to restart Safari, holding the Shift key down when you restart it,
Okay.
and see if that just makes it go away, because that should probably do it, I think. But
Well, I'll let you know next month.
yeah, I'll be curious to hear, because we all get them.
Yeah.
I know I had an aunt who has a Windows computer, and she clicked on it, and all of a sudden she was talking to somebody, and they almost got her credit card information and $300. And she thought for sure it was Microsoft and it was legit, and it wasn't. So
Right.
That's another thing they do. They disguise they create websites that are absolutely identical to who they're trying to spoof, and what they're trying to spoof you with. You got to be very careful. Watch that address bar, very closely.
yeah, I do that for both emails from certain places to make sure it's actually the email, because I get a lot of junk emails that look like they're from Squarespace or somebody else. And if you click on the header part, you can actually see where the email address is from. And if it doesn't say .squarespace, you know that it's not them. And generally, I don't click any links when it comes to emails, unless I'm absolutely certain.
Has anybody created an account on the IRS website lately?
No,
Not lately. I've had one for a long time, but not lately. Yeah.
My ID, they got my ID, and I actually had to I had to actually take the picture from my driver's license, and they scanned it, held it up on screen, and they scanned it. They really got a nice system set up.
Wow.
My ID, and you don't log into the IRS account anymore. It's through a third party or whatever they have set up. So I mean, it's really nice what they've done. I imagine we paid a ton of money for it. But it better be good.
I'm not sure I want to have them, and I'd be so afraid that could get spoofed just as well. But
I paid my taxes on it. We paid our taxes on it. Yeah.
Well, interesting. Well, that's why I do a lot of two-factor identifications on websites,
Yeah.
just to make sure that people can't spoof it. So
Yep.
Yep.
It's a hassle, but it sure is increases the security.
yeah,
Your percentage of success other than being spoofed. Absolutely.
yeah. The only bad part is if you're working with a group and you need that same site to be used by different people in our group.
Yeah.
But no,
Well, the medical industry has done a very good job
yeah,
during their site. They've done a very good job.
yeah. Yeah, Epic's been pretty good at all their stuff for
Yeah.
a lot of the medical. And they're a Wisconsin-based company.
Madison, yeah. How about
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
So, we have anybody got any other questions? Ken, maybe, do you know what the special themes for the Wacko Fall competition will be? I don't have that easy to find.
I will look
Is
it
it
up. I included it in one of my last emails I sent out, but I'll look it up quick and
Okay,
I'll get back to you in a second.
yeah.
It's not on their website, huh?
No, because I haven't updated that part of the website yet. We're
You weren't
we're
updating
still
the website
finishing up
anymore.
on the website for the spring competition. So Ken Bowman just is sort of active on trying to get ready for the fall one already. And Ken and I just finished up the spring stuff. So we haven't started putting that stuff all in yet. So we will be soon. Only so many hours in a day to keep these sites up.
Yep, absolutely.
Jeff, did anybody tell you that our PSA chapter board meeting is going to be June 18th?
Nope.
No.
PSA chapter board meeting is going to be June 18th.
I wonder if I'll be invited.
I don't.
I don't know.
I imagine, but it just I could see you getting lost in the, transition with Mary trying to remember who all to invite, and
Are you hosting it?
I think that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah,
Okay.
'cause I think if we had to rely on.
Here's the categories. For nature, it's animals. And for open, it's weather.
Okay, Ken, and anybody else from that enters the Wacko competitions? Animals for nature and weather for open. So start working on them. You got all summer to get some good weather photos in. Boy, this is a quiet group for questions today. Fortunately, we had that nice long discussion. I did have one other thing that Carl Hokinson sent me that he found out, and maybe people would like to know, is he was upgrading his cell phone and he wears hearing aids, and he found that the newest cell phone he bought wouldn't support the hearing aids that he had, or at least all the functions. So he had to return the first phone to buy a second phone to get his hearing aids to work. So
I have Apple, and mine work fine, but Apple.
yeah, Apple probably works the best for hearing aids out of any of them. He's on Samsung cell phones, so.
I know some of the G5 phones, you got to be careful, is if you have a pacemaker defibrillator, they don't recommend you using the phone. I guess that interferes with the pacemaker defibrillator.
Oh, that wouldn't be good.
Definitely not.
Jeez.
Might shock your life, huh? Might shock you, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows?
I've got something.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Hadn't tried this in a while, but it was in Lightroom, and I was trying to update multiple titles. You know, I could change multiple keywords; it would accept that, but I would highlight multiple images in library, and I would try to enter a common title, and it would not accept it. And I did an update on Lightroom, and I did try it again, but I see that that's been a issue out there for other people too. But there's nothing. I don't know what else to do, but about it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I got my Lightroom going because I was working on race pictures. Let me just see if I pick 3 of them.
I think like I could change keywords, but for multiple files, but that was about the only thing that I could change. I tried to change the location, and I don't think that changed either. It would change for the first one, but for one of them, but not the entire group.
Huh. Yeah, I see that. No, I don't think. Well, you could. Did you do it with syncing? You can sync metadata. Let me just make sure before I tell you that it actually worked. Yeah. Here's one way to do it. If I'm understanding what you're trying to do, you can say I wanted to. Here's 3 images, and I wanted to. You wanted to make the title the same for all 3.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
So if I say tire and hit enter, what that did right now is it just titled the first one. But if I hit the sync button down here and to sync metadata, you go down to title and it shows the first one, and I hit synchronize. Now all 3 of them have the word tire in it.
Okay, but now you'll have to do that every time you want to do that. For then the next 3, you also have to do this. Go through sync.
If you want this, if you want the same title on everything, you just would have to select all the ones that you want with that same title and hit sync.
Yeah, but now let's say now the next 3. So now you go on the next 3 and say you want to change the title to light. So again, you do the same process.
Yeah.
You have to sync the metadata again.
Right. Now, if I remember
That's
right.
interesting.
Now, I think if you turn auto sync on.
Oh, okay.
I haven't had to do this for a while, so I believe, yeah, if you hit auto sync on and then you can click apply to all. Now, light is now automatically added to all, and you can actually turn off that dialog box. Let's see, LIGHT. I think now, after it did it the first time, oh, okay. You can do the don't show again.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And
okay.
And it would do it. So that would be the way that you could actually title a whole group.
Okay, thanks for that. Thank you.
And then you can turn, that's a little toggle right next to the sync button that you would just, you can turn on and off so that it doesn't do it all the time.
Okay.
I forgot about the toggle because, and then if you, and this is the sync for the metadata, this would be syncing for, I believe, settings, which are all the other exposure stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Problem solved.
Robin Lee has a question of, I got a Nikon P950 and every picture I take, it comes up with a comment, artist, and copyright. Robin, are you looking to try to get that to turn off? Or I'm not sure, I guess, what the comment question is. Let me think. I don't know if anybody else has a P950. I'm just trying to. So if it's showing up all the time,
Probably in
that is part of
settings.
the. It's part of the metadata.
Try settings, you know.
Yeah, it's got to be in settings. Is it showing up in the picture itself, huh? All right. Got me stumped, but I will try to check on it and see if I can find, there's got to be something in the settings part to turn that stuff on and off. I'm just not quite sure on the P950 where it might be. And it's over the picture. Huh. Yeah, there's got to be a settings part in the menu.
It almost sounds like a watermark too.
Yeah. Let's see if I can do something quick.
I've owned a smaller version of that series and never saw that.
Well, I know you can hit the display button on the back and that does get rid of it, but it's not, but that shouldn't be showing up on the photos itself. Is it showing up on the back of the camera or on the actual photo itself? On your photo file, I should say. Here we go. There is there's a checkbox by the comment stuff that you should be able to uncheck and then hit the OK button. And that will take it off. Comment will be attached to the images captured afterward. So you can attach it or unattach it. Normally, though, that just shows up in the metadata, so I'm not sure why it's showing up on your photo. Okay, it's on the back of the camera. Then you, if it's on the back of the camera, that's just a matter of hitting the display button. And that it should change it there's a little DISP button above the big thumb wheel to the right, and if you hit that, that should make that go away. Because that changes the displays, and it's just stuck on that one. You can hide all the information. That's I've got that on the same as my other cameras. So if you hit that display button, it will rotate through either a clean display, one that shows your histogram, one that shows grid lines, all the different stuff. So just keep hitting that display button till you get to the screen that you like the best, and that should do it. So hopefully that'll do it. Give that a try and see if that works. But I'm pretty sure that would be what it is. Really making me think here. I had to pull up the instruction book on a P950. Fortunately, I sort of knew where to look, so gets tricky.
Like, thank you for contacting customer service.
Yeah.
I found it too, Jeff. I just put all the notes on it in the chat box.
Okay, great. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, it looks
basically
like-
what you said.
What's nice is by customer service, I actually get a live person.
Yeah, it's not too easy to get a live person anymore on customer service, period. But so hopefully that answers that question. Anybody else have something?
At our Menominee Falls Camera Club, I really want to try that printing on metal, and I would like to definitely try that canvas painting. Get those pictures on canvases. We had some really nice, wonderful websites, so I got to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I use Bay Photo for that.
That's exactly what I was going to say, and I've been real happy with their results over the years.
Looks like you have one with the sunflowers, Marty, and that looks like a metal frame behind you.
Actually, that's an acrylic.
Oh, okay.
This would be a metal.
Yeah, that's a metal one. Oh, that's a good one. That's their fancy edged one.
Yeah, I thought I'd try one just for something different.
Yeah.
What company did you say in Milwaukee does this?
They're actually in California. It's bayphoto.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used them too, and also I find them to be the best.
What are their shipping expensive?
No, not really. They mail it to you. So it goes through United mail service. So it's not horribly.
No. They don't jack them up really bad. I think they're pretty much a pass-through cost for them for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's fairly quick.
Yeah, generally about a week, if even that sometimes. Depends on the time of year.
I wonder if those websites, like photo, I wonder if that one I can sell also. Let's say I have it on Squarespace. I wonder if I can sell my pictures to them too. I'm not sure.
No.
Not through it would be trickier. You can, the nice part is you can sell, you can ship photos from Bay Photo with no invoice in it, that they'll ship right to the customer. I do that often instead of having them ship it to me and then I have to turn around and ship it to a customer. I just have them print it, ship it right to the customer, and I get the bill and then I just bill the customer. You can do that with them. I actually find Fine Art America works pretty good if you want to put photos on the website and let people order right from there. And Fine Art America has their own printing service
Yeah,
for all
correct.
their different things.
I remember seeing that. I wasn't quite sure if those other websites also had
Yeah.
something similar to that.
Yeah,
The
Bayphoto
only other
doesn't do that.
website that does that stuff would be SmugMug. I don't know, Brian, did Zenfolio do that too when you were with them?
I don't remember.
They-
Marty's saying
Yeah,
yes.
I think they did. And I think it was through either Miller or MPix. I can't remember which, but yeah.
Yeah. And SmugMug was doing it where it's all incorporated all into their website. Squarespace, it's a little trickier. That's why I use Fine Art America, because I can embed Fine Art America's website right on the Squarespace site. So you don't even have to leave it. You just put in some code that connects them up. And Fine Art America lets you do mugs, cards, blankets, shower curtains, you name it, they have it. And they actually do a pretty decent job at whatever company is doing it, does a pretty nice job of doing it. Some of their stuff isn't too cheap, but
if I remember right, I think you said that was a $35 a year membership or something to have that.
right. Yeah. And then what you do is you decide how much of a markup you want, and they tell you what your cost is going to be. You add your markup, and that's what shows up on the website. So, and they do all the back end of collecting the money and handling the shipping, the whole works. So I found that to be fairly simple way to sell artwork, and they do a halfway decent job. Only problem I've run into was shipping stuff to myself. They didn't they didn't want to ship to a PO box, and they wanted a straight address. And when I did the straight address, they ended up mailing it, and my post office won't convert my straight address to my PO box, so it got returned to them, and I never did get the stuff. I got refunded, but they couldn't figure out how to get it to me, which was a little weird, but.
I was just checking Zenfolio, and they do offer that as an option.
Okay.
Just I hadn't used that option, but it is an option.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. So Zenfolio or SmugMug would be the other option that you could end up doing. Squarespace, you just have to do other workarounds with it. But
yeah, that's what I'm trying to look into in that, because some of those acrylics and metal frames, and then some of the canvas paintings would be pretty cool on for selling.
You can set it up yourself to do it manually, but that would be a lot more work for you.
That's kind of how I work. Yeah, that's kind of how I work mine with Slick Pick is, I have ordering right on there, but then it generates an order to me, and then it's kind of self-fulfillment on my part then. But it also allows me then to do any cropping, color correction, or anything I wanted to do before I send it to the lab.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So a couple of different options for that. All right, anybody else got some questions?
Just one more comment about that. I probably on Zenfolio, if you can order things, but I think the product variation or product options are probably rather limited. Even on SmugMug, I don't know. So I don't know if you probably won't be able to access the full product range that you can on Bayphoto, or any of the other big printing houses. Maybe very limited.
Like on my Slick Pick, I can decide which items I want to show and not show on there, and but you have to kind of create each item individually, and with all the items, as Brian mentioned, all the items that Bay Photo has. You got to kind of pick and choose your battles. I mean, you can just generically say, you know, we offer, you know, acrylic and metal or whatever, and then you just have to have them let you know what size they're looking for and all that. But you know, not every picture fits the correct format either. So, but I will say, Bay Photo's metals, you can do them in any size or any formatting you want. Now you can do custom sizing on it, so you don't necessarily have to stick within, you know, a traditional photo print size.
Yeah, it's probably unique. There are many folks that'll do that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of unique to Bay.
Yeah, Bay Photo does. I mean, I've done canvas prints, and you can do almost any size on that. Metal prints, acrylics.
It's
They've
really
got
nice
quite
with
a bit.
It's really nice with all the options, and then the thickness on the, whether you want a 1/2 inch or an inch or 2 inches, you know, for the frame. You got so many different choices in that.
Yeah.
They may not be
You
the
can get-
cheapest, but I think they're the
You
best.
can get acrylic blocks from Bay. Those are pretty neat.
Yeah,
I like the standouts. I use them quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too.
So then you don't need a frame.
No.
They-
Well, Brian,
they
your
run-
work stands.
They
Your work
run
stands out
specials
anyway, Brian.
periodically too. The metal
Yeah.
one just expired yesterday. They had 15% off metal as up to yesterday.
Yeah, that's right, Ken. I mean, they do that kind of the full range of products throughout the year. They'll hit, you know, 15, 20% off, whatever.
Yeah, and Clinton, I think they, if you've never ordered from them, the first time you order, you get a discount.
Yeah, I haven't tried any from any distributors or whatever, you know, with the canvas, metals and acrylic and that, you know, there are many options out there, and I'd like to try that because I'd be curious to see which one is the best. It's like, oh, I like this feature, or I like the, you know, thinner canvas. You know, there's so many different choices.
Yeah, and all you can do is just keep experimenting and ordering for yourself different photos and the different sizes, and see what, you know, what you like, and that. It can
Correct.
get a little expensive doing that, but that's what I end up doing. I've got so many different samples of my own work here, so that I know, well, I can do this acrylic, or I can do this in metal. And
I agree with you on that, and it's nice to kind of almost have like your own art gallery, because there's so many different shapes, sizes. Then you got the multiple, how can I say it? Multiple canvas, but it's one picture on multiple. I guess it's the collages, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
Collage or triptychs or things like that. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do.
So it's endless, really, when you think about it.
Yep.
However much money you want to spend, they'll do it.
Well, it's funny with all that. I mean, you could easily spend $1,000 for all different, you know, sizes and ranges and that, and you know, it's real easy to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what I found is I do a lot of small stuff in 5x7, 8x10, so I can get the samples that way, and I don't spend a ton of money. And then you just know that it will size up to whatever you want to size it to. So it's a good way to do it. And you can sometimes get, there are, Bay Photo does sell samples of like their metal prints, so that you can see the different surfaces in that. So that works out nice. And I mean, there are other labs in Bay Photo, but I still like Bay Photo the best.
Oh, thank you. I have to really look into that a lot more in greater detail.
Sure. No problem. Any other quick questions? Otherwise, I guess I will go through my long exposure presentation here. Just got to get this organized before I screen share. Wish these windows would all stay in the same spots. Okay. Marty, if you can keep an eye on questions, because I pretty much sometimes lose that when I go to screen share.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if this will work. Yeah, that did. All right. So, long exposure photography. It's a pretty simple thing to do. A lot of us are doing it every day. The least amount of equipment you would need really would be a polarizing filter. The other filters that come in handy would be neutral density filters. So some of the equipment, of course, is a neutral density filter. Square ones, you need a holder. Round ones just screw into place. I use both polarizing neutral density filters. You need a cable release, tripod, and then I found what's really handy is there's a neutral density app available. So the neutral density filters generally come in 3 to 5 stops, and they can come in either a round or square. The round ones, you can also get a variable that are 1 to 6 stops. I know a number of people use them. I'm not a big fan of them because I tend to have more problems with them. Other people don't seem to have the same problems I have, but we'll get into that. So the first thing that you sort of need to decide would be whether the neutral density filters you can get in either square or round. They each have their advantages and their disadvantages. The round ones are nice because you just screw them into place. They're usually a little less expensive. The bad part with them is that you need different size filters for different size lenses, although you can use step rings to be able to put them onto different ones. So you basically buy the biggest round filter that you need and then use step rings to step down to the different lenses that you have. The biggest problem that it runs into is you need to remove them to compose the picture, and then you have to screw them back into place. Now, with mirrorless cameras, that's gotten a little easier. The mirrorless, you generally can see through the filter up to about the 8 stop. When you get to a 10 or 15 stop filter, those you generally can't see through the camera, so you still have to take them on and off. Where it comes in handy is the variable filter. You can rotate that, so you can adjust it by rotating it, and you can turn it way down so you can see through, do your composition, and then set it back to the setting that you want to use. So the variable can be handy. It's just that there is a problem with the variable. Again, it can be adjusted to variable strengths. You don't need to remove it. But if you go to its extreme, you get this nice big X in the middle of the picture. And to show it, here's what I get when I use a variable neutral density filter and I set it too far. The picture on the left, you get this big X, and I get it pretty often. It seems to show up on the higher megapixel cameras more than the lower ones, because I know Ken uses the variable all the time and he hardly gets this problem at all. And I got it all the time. I guess maybe because I always am going to the extreme. If you use it on not all the way to the maximum setting, you generally don't get that X. So that's the only thing to watch out. A variable neutral density filter is basically two polarizing filters hooked together, and you're turning one while the other stays in place. So when you get to the full polarization, cross-polarized, it's cutting out most of the light, but it creates this weird X. Square filters are nice because you can buy one filter for all your different lenses. You do need a holder that will hold the filter, but then you have adapter rings that go into the holder. So you only buy one holder, one filter, and it can go on any of your lenses. There is no variable for it, although you can put a polarizing filter on the very front. That's what that round ring on the front of that holder would be, is where this polarizer screws in. The square filters slide in and out for composition and focusing. The other thing that you need is a cable release, and you should be one where you can do seconds to minutes. Mine is an intervalometer one, so I can do one minute up to a 1 hour exposure with this. There's variable brands. I found these couple brands, the Phoenix, the Veltrox, and the Photex, as they look identical to my Nikon brand one. My Nikon brand one is $150. This one, it's the same shape, same button, same size, but for Nikon, it's $150. With this, you can get it on Amazon from $20 to $50. The nice part
Probably
with
from the same factory too, Jeff.
probably, except that most of these have one extra feature on it, and that's a little jack that you can plug these cables in, so that you can actually change the cable for different camera types. For me, Nikon makes two different connectors. They've got a 10-pin connector for one set of cameras, and then they've got the connector that I've got on here right now for another set. So I actually needed two different size cables to make it work on the couple different cameras that I have. So this saved me a ton of money because I could just buy one release and have multiple cables. And I also use it for intervalometer use, which works out real nice for doing multiple exposures, like at shooting stars at night, or time-lapse photography stuff. So the cable release can be used for multiple stuff. So with the square filter, you attach the holder to the front of the camera, and then where my A arrow is a polarizing filter. It's about a 95 millimeter polarizer, so it can cover almost any lens. And then the square filter is in that B slot. So the nice part is you can pull that filter and just slide it 3/4 of the way up out of the way, and you can do your composing and focusing, and then you can slide it back into place. So it's nice and easy to remove. Now, some of the round filters, there's a couple companies out there that you can find magnetic ones that just magnetically snap onto the front of your lens. I keep meaning to try those, but so far, every time I go to order them, they're always out of stock. So I've never been able to find them. So I still like the square the best. I will say the one biggest problem with square filters are that they're easier to drop, and being that they are glass, they will break. Although, knock on wood, I have yet to drop one or break one, and I've been using them for 4 or 5 years. So you have your intervalometer, of course, connected to your camera, and the camera sitting on a good sturdy tripod, because you're going to be doing some longer exposures. So basic camera settings, you want to go to the lowest ISO setting that you have on the camera. You want to meter the image without the filter in place with the f-stop that you want to use. And remember that shutter speed that you got. You want to pick an f-stop to give you the depth of field that you would like. I use between f11 and f16. Sometimes I go up, you'll see when I show some photos, I go all the way up to 32 sometimes, but I try to use f11 and f16. I set my shutter speed then to bulb setting. And then I use the ND app that's on my phone to determine the actual shutter speed to start experimenting with. And then I set that shutter speed into the cable release. You want to make sure you cover the viewfinder eyepiece on the back. You don't have to do this for mirrorless cameras, but any DSLR you do. Because if you don't do that, you'll get light coming in through that eyepiece. And since they're long exposures, it can leak through the mirror and onto your sensor. And nothing more frustrating than to do a 1 minute exposure and have it ruined because light's leaking in through the viewfinder. The app I use is called ND Timer. It's a pretty easy app to use. You basically set what your exposure was when you took a reading with the filter off. So say it was 1/20th of a second. I put on a 10-stop neutral density filter. It's got a spot for a second filter. And then it tells you that you're going to need to start at 51 seconds for your exposure with the neutral density filter on there. Now that's really a starting point. It doesn't always come out to that, but you do have some leeway. If I got 51 seconds, I would actually set it for a minute because I find that it's generally, you've got quite a bit of leeway with this stuff. Now, if you did a 10-stop neutral density filter, plus you had a polarizing filter on there, I usually figure a stop to a stop and a half with a polarizing filter. So the same 1/20th of a second, 10 stop, and 1 stop with a polarizer would get you up to 2 minutes and 24 seconds. You can tell that it jumps up quite a bit. So it does. When you add all these things together, it doesn't quite work the same as just figuring a 1-stop difference. And the same thing as if you did 1/25th of a second, you could get it down to 16 seconds. So you can experiment with different shutter speeds without the filter. And depending on how long you want to wait, or if you're shooting with a group of people, how long your friends are willing to wait as you're shooting pictures. Because I can be out shooting and I'll only get 1 exposure every minute to 2 minutes, and everybody else is shooting a lot quicker and they're ready to go and I'm still on my 4th picture. So so here's some examples. I'm going to start with no filter because you can do some of this with no filter, but it needs to be a cloudy day or early in the morning, late in the evening. So this was one that was early in the morning. I was shooting at ISO 50 with no filter. And with the way the water was running, I could do a 1.5 second at f27. So you can usually get 1 second to a 1.5 second with no filter at pretty much closed down, depending on how fast the water runs. But you can see I'm all the way closed down at f27 on my lens. And that's really not always the best spot to be on lenses. You want to be 1 or 2 stops from closed down. Foggy days, you can also get away with no filter. Here's 3 seconds at f22. It'll also depend too on how much water is flowing in waterfalls. The more water that flows, the shorter the exposure time can be to get that same nice silky look. And you can tell it was pretty foggy that morning when we were shooting this stuff. Here's another, this is in the Smoky Mountains, and the water was really running pretty fast, so I could do it for 4 seconds at f32. I zoomed in a little bit more and for the 1.5 second one. So depending on the amount of water can really make a difference. Where I really like to do these shots is early morning by the ocean with a fast shutter speed of 1/640th of a second at f4.5. It was ISO 1600. You can see this was right as the sun was coming up, and it was very heavy overcast. I was able to shoot without any filter at 8 seconds at f22, ISO 100, and I pretty much got the water smoothed out pretty well. I'd like to go even longer, so you'll see farther on here as we add up. Now, almost everybody carries a polarizing filter with them, so this is easy enough to add in, and it will cut out 1 to 1.5 stops of light. And so on a brighter, sunnier day, you can still get 4 seconds at f22 at a low ISO of 50 using a polarizing filter. And of course, the polarizing filter has the nice added part of bringing in more saturated colors and letting you see through the water a little bit more. So here is one for 3 seconds. You can see right into the water a lot deeper, and with the water running fairly quick, 3 seconds is enough. Now, as we go to the 3 to 6 stop neutral density filter range, for a while I had a 3-stop round one, and that helped. Now I'm getting up to 10 seconds at f32 at ISO 200, and that smoothed the water out quite a bit. Gives a nice look to everything. I just like water smooth because that's how I see it in my mind. I don't see the water droplets frozen in midair. So I like the silky look. With this one, this is a square filter called the Little Stopper. It's a 6-stop filter. Now, this is Munising Falls, and it's just a little waterfall, or actually this is Miners Beach, not Munising Falls. No. That's a different waterfall later on. But Miners Beach, and this was just a little trickle of water. So 10 seconds made it actually look like something. And you could see too that it also smoothed out the shoreline water. You can also get some interesting effects here at 15 seconds with the water sort of cresting on the river. You get some nice patterns in the water using a 6-stop filter at 15 seconds. Now, this is my favorite one, is a 10-stop neutral density filter. And with the photo on the left, that was at a 30th of a second at f18 at sunset. And you can see you get the ripples in the water. But if you go to the 60 seconds, you get a nice smooth, you get a little more of a reflection in the water. And it just gives a nice, neat look. Same here, 3 seconds for the short exposure. Then I put my big stop on there, 10 stop filter. What's nice is now all of a sudden the clouds are starting to blur and blend in, and so is the water. and then you get more of a reflection in the water. Also, with going into a 60-second exposure, you can see the people in the left on the beach, on that left picture. On the right picture, you can see that those people are all blurred away, except for, I think there's one person standing out in the water that didn't move for a whole minute. And so he's pretty much still there. But everybody else that was moving around disappears. And then you start to get a little more streaks in the clouds. So the clouds tend to get a little softer looking depending on how much breeze you have. You can see in here, and I've got better examples, but you can see how they're starting to spread out over how these were more frozen in place. In waterfalls and cascades, again, with a long exposure, here the Miners Beach Little Falls was barely trickling, and 30 seconds, you can actually get a pretty good view of the water. Bond Falls, I can get, with a 6-stop filter, a really nice, smooth, silky look at 20 seconds. Here at 8 seconds, just with a polarizing filter, because the water is running fairly quickly, it still gets a nice look. You got to experiment with the different amounts of time. Sometimes we'll actually, you'll get more streaks than others. So you got to watch for that and do some experimenting. But when you are doing this stuff, you can be spending a lot of time. Here is just, this is Tequanimon Falls. It's got a lot of water running. So 3 seconds is generally more than enough. But there's some advantages to a longer one. Here is 90 seconds with Tequanimon Falls. And what I like is now you start to get patterns in what I consider ugly looking foam. You can now get a pattern and it's more blurred and it doesn't look quite so ugly as this foam that's just sort of sitting there. And you can see all the different eddies in the river as the water is spinning around. But it takes a 90-second exposure to get that stuff. Same here, you can see the nice little eddies as the water is spinning over in this side and over in the center, and you can see how it's running right down the river. Gooseberry Falls, that's, in some years, this was a year where the water was running fairly decent. Last year when we went, the water was hardly running at all, and so you really needed a longer exposure. But I could get away with a 3-second one. And here's in the Smoky Mountains where it's just a couple of seconds. But again, I'm running at f/27. You start to get a little more diffraction. Generally, I can clean that up, but you got to watch out for it. Most waterfalls, I do like to do at least 6 seconds, and sometimes I'll go longer depending on how much water, again, is flowing. 6 to 10 seconds generally isn't bad for a lot of water. Now, smoothing water, here is Mackinac Bridge, and I was able to do 8 seconds and was able to get the nice fireworks in the background that night. They were doing fireworks. I was trying to get shots so that the lights from the cars were filling up the bridge a little more, and that the water got smoothed out, because the water was not pretty looking with the little ripples in it. Split Rock Lighthouse, early morning, get a nice sunrise. Here I got a great sky and was able to they were just little ripples in in the water, and this 30-second one really smoothed it out nicely. Same here. 30 seconds just gets you, can actually sometimes get you a really mirror look on the water to get a really nice reflection, especially when you don't get clouds in the sky. You need to try to do something. Here you can see the, this is on the ocean, and the water just wasn't very pretty looking, and the 60 seconds really smooths it out nicely. And if the water's really rough, when you do 60 seconds, you get this nice foggy look to it, because of the water will be a little higher up, and it will create more of a fog and give you an interesting look. So I just love doing 60-second ones, but you don't get a lot of shots done. You can be out there for an hour and you're only going to get 60 shots if you're not doing anything other than shooting one right after the other. Here was just an old dilapidated pier that the 30 seconds just smoothed the water out nicely. You could see all the rock underneath. Here's another pier. I always look for old pier stumps, and then with a long exposure, it just smooths it out. And you can see the nice reflection of the colorful sky in the water. This was one of my first times that I used the big stopper, and it was a sunset up on Miners Beach. And I walked up the shoreline and was able to get this rock and the water smoothed out, and a nice reflection of the sun in the water. And here's another one with 90 seconds. You can just see how smooth the water can get. 25 seconds. The other neat part with it is clouds. When you get a windier day with a 60 seconds, you can get nice streaked clouds in the sky, and it can turn sometimes a cloudy day into something that looks a little more interesting. You do want to watch which way the wind is blowing, so that you can get the clouds sort of leading you into the photo. This one worked pretty nice where it's going from left to right and sort of brings your eyes right in. And usually front to back, or, works pretty well too. I don't like it going completely left to right crossways. You want it more of an angle. And so far, most of the time when I have gotten it, it's coming towards me or blowing away. Some of the wind really, on this shot, was a really windy, cold day, and was able to get some nice, interesting shots. Here down in Florida at Myers Beach, it just made the clouds look a little more interesting. And it's nice. You can, try varying your shots and to see if it, improves the photo. Here, the water where we were, a lot of seaweed was showing through. So the sky helps make the shot a little better, and the longer exposure. There wasn't that much in waves this time, so it didn't need it for the water, but we needed it for the sky. Now this was a really long 18-minute exposure. I was doing a big stopper and a little stopper because the clouds were just sort of boring. And so it gave me 17 stops, and it was 18 minutes at f8 ISO 100. It was sort of an experiment to see how it would work. And it was different, but I did get a bunch of light leaks. So this image had to be cropped down quite a bit. I am going to pick up the Lee filters that makes the square filters, does make a 15 stop neutral density filter. I think I want to pick that one up so I can go into more of a 5-minute exposure. It'll probably drive Ken and Brian nuts, but what the heck. Now this is 15 seconds at f8. This is a time lapse. It was one exposure every minute for 4.5 hours. This was taken during one of the eclipses during the day, but unfortunately, I had a complete overcast day. So this is just a quick movie. Come on. You could see it even rained while I shot it. So it goes fairly quick. That was one exposure every minute for 4.5 hours. So it was quite a few, but you could see how much the clouds had changed, and it even rained. I was in doing other stuff while it ran. Now, a few other longer exposure things that a lot of people have done has been the Milky Way at night. This is 15 seconds at f4, ISO 4000 with a 16 millimeter lens up in northern Minnesota. You usually have to do a pretty long exposure to get the Milky Way unless you're going to image stack. And I like it when you get the little meteors showing up in the photo. But it gives you a lot of interesting shots. It's fun to do the Milky Way, especially certain times of the year when it's not super cold or not so late at night. I don't like doing it in spring. I like doing it in fall where I don't have to be up in the middle of the 2 or 3 in the morning. But these are all around 15 seconds at f4, around ISO 4000, 4500. And then I like to do ones where here it was shot towards the North Star and it was 60 seconds, ISO 400 with a 16 millimeter lens. And you can actually stack a bunch of these together to get a nice circular movement. And then sometimes you do get like something here, a meteor or something that must have came. This would have been a plane that flew through with the lights blinking. And the elusive aurora. This was actually shot in my backyard here in Wisconsin.
Oh.
One of the few times that the auroras come this far south. And it was 30 seconds at f7, ISO 200. One of the first times I ever shot an aurora. Most of the time I've shot it with film. This one I think was digital, but it might have been film. 20 seconds. It really was an interesting show that night. And it's been a long time since it's gotten this shown up this far south. So a bunch of places to get this stuff. Lee Filters, you can find a lot of good information at leefilter.com. I buy my Lee Filters from Unique Photo because Lee Filters is actually made over in England. So I pick it up at uniquephoto.com. They have all the Lee filters. I believe B&H and Adorama also carry them now. I also use B&W round filters, and I get those from Adorama. I'm using the 6-stop ones generally. with my mirrorless camera, so I can see right through it, which works fine for waterfalls and that. So I usually use round filters for that, and the heavier filters with the Lee filters. Breakthrough Filters is another company that has them, and they do have some that are magnetic. They're made in, I believe they're made in California, but they're really hard to get. They're always back ordered. Kolari Filters is another company that makes them that you can get right from the company, and they're round filters. The cable releases I got from Amazon. There's a whole ton of them out there. I do like the wired releases. I have one that's wireless, but I found the wireless doesn't always keep a good connection and stops working and goes through batteries a lot quicker than the wired ones. I use a really heavy duty tripod made by Really Right Stuff. And I also use Tether Tool makes an external battery setup because you're keeping your shutter open so long. You do tend to go through batteries fairly quick. What I found is Tether Tool makes an external battery that plugs into your camera, and then it's a little rechargeable battery pack that then ends with a USB plug-in. And what I've been using is, and I should add that to this list, is the DeWalt batteries for DeWalt tools. They do make a little USB slide-on unit, and those batteries will last a long time, and you can just plug the USB right into that battery setup. And since I have all these DeWalt tool batteries, they got 2-hour and 4-hour batteries. The 4-hour one will last you all night if you needed to do a long, say, time release. So that's all I've got. If anybody's got questions, go ahead.
Nothing in the chat or the Q&A.
Yeah, geez, I must have covered everything, or everybody fell asleep.
Well, Jeff, I've got one comment on the magnetic filters.
Sure.
You know, you gotta put them on when you get to a location. You know, if you're walking, they can fall off. At least that's my experience. So you got to be careful and basically get to your scene where you're going to shoot, and then put them on there. At least the part that is removable. The one part is screws on the lens, and that part's stable, but then the other piece, clicks on magnetically, and it's a little bit. You have to be a little careful with it. Otherwise, you walk along, and if it's kind of a rough area, you're bouncing up and down. It is possible, by my experience, that piece with a filter can pop off.
Yeah. I use I've got all my filters in a little square bag that hold both my round and the square filters. And when I'm traveling, I make sure the square filters are always in that bag because I don't want to bang them on a rock. And that. So, yeah, that's a good point with the magnetic. Yeah, you'd hate to lose it. Those filters are not, none of these filters are cheap. And you don't want to buy a cheap brand of filter. You want to stay with a good quality glass so you don't, put something inferior on. And those Lee filters are a couple $100, and the round ones can be over 150 to 200, although there are some less expensive ones out there.
I use the Olympus cameras, and they have neutral density filters built right into them.
Oh, wow.
And another feature that's really good for night photography, let me get into my menu here, is, they have live ND shooting, and you can go up to, see what they got here, and neutral density 64, 6 equivalent stops.
Wow.
The other thing that is really nice about these you can watch your exposure develop on the screen.
Oh, that's nice too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those nice features. Now, this is the latest camera. I think this is the OM1, and I'm quite sure it was in the Mark III, 2 AMD Mark III. They had that
Okay.
feature built in.
Huh.
I want to do some night work. Thank you for the presentation, because I'd like to get into some night work. And I do have a circular, a circular ND filter. And if I need more time, I'll just put that on the front and then use whatever they have there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That should work nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't realize Olympus had done that.
Yeah, they, I'm probably the only one in the whole Wacko that uses one, but.
Well, I know a couple other people in Wacko that were using them. Some have gotten out of them, but I think there's still a few people.
Yeah, Jesse uses them.
I think Jesse, yeah, I was trying to think who it was. It was Jesse, yeah.
Yeah.
A
The only
lot
issue
of
with them
people have
is a small
switched to
sensor.
Sony.
Yeah, the only issue with them is a small sensor, but I'm really
Yeah.
happy with the new MOM-1. So it's not owned by Olympus anymore. It's OM Digital Systems, I think now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be the only next part, is how long will they be around? But yeah, they're still. It was pretty neat. Go ahead, Ken.
I was going to mention, Jeff, that one thing that I always forget about for long exposure is buildings. Sometimes buildings really look nice when you've got a smooth cloud above it. The blurry clouds, when you do your building photos, can really make the shot too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't shot many buildings yet, but I do want to do more like that.
Yeah, I do really like the night photography for doing the cities, because they look like kind of like a Christmas tree at night with the lights. It just really pops really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's really sharp. If it's if it's showing a lot of detail and it's really sharp, those images pop. Night photography in cities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we got time. I've got a short slideshow here of a bunch of my different photos, so I'll play this, I think. See if it will play. And again, maybe it won't.
Oh. So
I leave it at the end.
So
There it
Kathy
goes.
uses the OMD too, huh?
Yes, I'm trying to figure it out.
Ah,
I got it when I went to the PSA conference. They had the sales rep there, and he was so enthusiastic about it. And then some of the speakers showed the pictures that they made with it, and I thought, oh, I have to get this. So I did, and it's taking a while to learn it, but I am learning it.
yeah. You won't get any sharper lenses. Their lenses are
Yeah.
Their lenses are, you can't stand out.
Yeah, I would say that when I've done close-ups, it's really
This
good.
is a 12. I got a 2X on a 600 millimeter, and I get
Wow.
beautiful photos with it. That's how bigger it is. Right there.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I often ask myself, if you really look at a 35 millimeter and the ratio, how many times do you crop down and eliminate the sides anyways? I mean, what I've learned with the Olympus, it's all in composing your photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice photo.
The only thing with the crop sensor is you get more noise with a crop sensor than you would with a full frame.
That's true.
So that's the only drawback with it. But otherwise, yeah, the crop sensors can be pretty handy, and the lenses are so much smaller and easier to carry around.
Yeah, the thing I like about the cameras, and maybe other cameras have this feature, but when you're zeroing in on something and you want to make sure everything's really sharp, all of a sudden all these red dots show up and you can see right away what is sharp and what isn't.
Uh,
And there's a name for that technique, but I don't recall what it is.
oh yeah, it's focus peaking.
Yep, yeah, focus peaking. I never had that on a camera before, and I like it on this one.
Most of the mirrorless cameras have that on there now, along with the zebra stripes for exposure. So
Zebra stripes for exposure.
yeah, or actually the zebra stripes is for focusing. Focus. There's also different ways that the mirrorless cameras will show your exposure besides blinkies.
Hey, Jeff, does the ND filter, the different quality of the ND filter matter when you pick up any brand of the ND filters?
Well, I don't like to use a real cheap brand because the better the glass, of course, the better the image is going to be. I don't think you have to go completely bonkers with it. I know some ND filters that can, like the Stingray filters, can run you $400, $500, $600.
Yep.
I don't think you need to go quite that far, but the Kolari and the breakthrough filters, they're all around the $100, $150 price point. I think those generally work pretty well. Neutral B&W is a little more in the upper end, but they're not super bad. They were under $200 for most neutral density filters. The square leaf filters can get a little more expensive. I don't like the plastic filters, mainly because glass doesn't scratch quite as easy as the plastic ones that are out there. So it all depends what, you want to end up doing. You buy a good set, they're going to last a long time.
For cleaning your lenses, the filters and also your square filters, do you use something special for cleaning, or do you just use one of those microfiber cloths?
Well, I use microfiber cloths for a lot of it. If I get salt or some other stuff on it, I actually picked up Nikon sells in little lens cleaning packets that are, like tissues with a liquid on it. And that works really nice for cleaning the front of a lens or the filter if it's got salt spray or, any kind of foreign matter on it. You got to make sure that you blow all the dust off, and microfiber will get rid of a lot of oils if you get your fingers on it. But
I know you got to be careful you can't really use Windex because I think the ammonia or whatever in it.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that, but you could use the same stuff for cleaning eyeglasses.
Yeah. There are formulas on the internet for doing that. I think I use a little bit of alcohol and baby shampoo.
Yeah.
Mixture. Yeah. There are a lot of formulas out there.
I ended up buying these nice on Amazon. Nikon sells these tissues for cleaning glasses in little packets, and I bought 200 of them for, I think it was less than $15. Yeah, it's same thing as those. Pretty
these
much.
come from Walmart for $5 for a box of 100 from Walmart.
Okay. Yep.
Little
Yep.
packages.
And that works so nice because it really ends up getting rid of let me see if I can
Kind of like
got
water
ones.
spouts, water spots.
I say, Jeff,
Yep.
I was going to mention too that in that Photoshop Summit
Oh, yeah.
program that we watched, I think it was Glenn Davis had a article on how he uses multiple exposures to create long exposures. And that was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you use the right, when you overlap them, you just need to use the right blend mode to get people to disappear, and
Right,
you can
right.
add, make water go silkier. So, yeah. So, any other
good
questions?
application for waterfall in the Milwaukee area?
For waterfalls in Milwaukee area?
Mhm.
There's a waterfall over by, I think it's Seven Bridges in Grant Park, and then over by Grant Park, it's called Mill Pond, and that's a kind of a nice waterfall there too.
Thank you.
I think it's Kletch Park with the Milwaukee River has a little waterfall there that's kind of nice at times. And actually, if you go there in the fall, you can see the salmon jumping up stream.
Yeah, I don't.
I had a police in Marinette County. Of course, I had to sell it when I got sick, but they got a lot of waterfalls up there.
Yeah.
Marinette County.
And Dave's Falls is one of them.
Yes.
Ken, you still have to go to Pierce Gorge, right in the, I think it's the Menominee River from the UP to Wisconsin. It's in Norway.
Yeah, then if you go to Michigan, which is where I like to go, there's tons of them up there that are all very good places.
What's nice is if you use Google Maps, you can just type in waterfall or waterfalls, and then it'll show different locations and that. So that's kind of cool.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else?
Thanks for the presentation.
Yes,
No problem.
Good job, Jeff.
very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, we had a nice turnout of people today too. Really nice. I think we had 30, 31 people, something like that.
Yeah, not too bad for a holiday weekend. And
Right.
it was hard to try to find any speakers. I'm hoping to find somebody on infrared photography for next month. And we got a couple other ones that I'm working on. So we'll keep having some speakers this summer and going into fall. So try to get at least one every other month or something. So, and try to get a lot of different information.
Watch your budget.
Yeah, yeah. We're
How
trying
can
to
you
keep it
comedy?
cheap.
Another, because summer is coming, a lot of the photography opportunity coming. Just wondering, any people need some volunteer to help the second shots or whatever, or assistant. We can, a lot of people we can spend time with you, and we don't need to pay. just try to get opportunity. Yeah, opportunity. Any commercial or non-commercial or any interest events in the Milwaukee area.
Well, there should be some field trips with some of our groups in that, like the Menominee Falls Camera Club.
Yeah, the Falls Club is doing trips about once a month to different places. I don't know.
Lane, and we should be doing Chicago pretty soon.
Yeah, I think we have the Milwaukee Zoo coming up soon, and then Ian's got the Chicago trip. I think that was around June 14th or so.
Okay, Rick Mayo is telling me Mailman from UVPC, Unlimited Visions. I'll check that out, Richard. See. I'm always looking. If people have suggestions for speakers, send them to me, and I will contact them. Because, yeah, if I can find some that are, most of the ones that I get that are out of state are running $100, $150 for an hour or two. And I am going to try to get Mike Mez again so he can talk about the volcanoes. We saw his weather one last month, so his volcano stuff is pretty neat too. So we got a bunch of people I'm working on.
Yeah, some of those presentations go by quick. It's like an hour. It's like, oh, that seemed only like 5 minutes.
Yep. Yep.
But a lot of great information, really phenomenal on some of the pictures and what people are able to capture.
Yeah. There's a lot of good photographers out there, and there's getting to be a lot more that are doing presentations, and being that we're virtual, it really makes it easy to bring them in. Might even be able to bring in, I believe some of the people in Europe will still work for this time period at 10 in the morning, because I don't think it's an oddball hour. And I've got a couple over there that I want to get a hold of.
It's only 4 or 5 in the afternoon. The only thing you have to worry about is you got to keep them out of the pub.
Yeah.
No, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would work. I got one gal that I know about that really has a lot of good info on Lightroom that I'd like to bring on. And there's a number of others. We just had Hazel Meredith at our club meeting last month, and she did a really nice job on how to create textures for your images and that. Very interesting, and she'd be one that we could bring in here pretty easily.
What's nice is we got great variety. It's just not one particular subject. It's all over the board.
Right. Right.
Yep. So, well, great. Well, I want to thank everybody. We'll just wrap it up for today, so everybody can get out and enjoy this gorgeous weather for today. Did it stop raining by you, Marty?
No, it actually intensified a bit.
Really?
The last pop-up said, let's see if we're saying here now, rain ending Saturday at 1:45.
Well, we got to get the mosquito population up a little higher up by you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it's
Hey,
it's nice down here.
Clinton, what's your background in Chicago? Where it's a restaurant.
What about Chicago?
Yeah, your background. I mean, where?
Oh no, that's on Mackinac Island, and that is the Woods restaurant on Mackinac Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making me hungry.
Yeah. Well, I've been having some fruit snacks a couple times in that, so it's good to have munchies in that.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Have a good holiday weekend. Hope you guys get out and get some good pictures.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next month. Don't know what we'll be doing, but we'll see you next month.
This morning, 4 o'clock from the Lake Michigan. It's very impressive this morning.
Ah,
Yeah.
great.